Prix here in Barcelona was back in 1996. 3 years previously, though, there was a Grand Prix here at the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalonia, the Grand Prix of Europe, which started between 1992 and 1995. Difficult layout, tyre punishing layout, 4.66 kilometres this morning. World champion Pecco Bagnaia, and qualifying on the way to his 6th pole position of the season, set an all-time lap record. He had drama in that first corner 1 year ago in the Grand Prix with Taka Nakagami and Alex Rins. Got to be gentle on that rear tyre through turn 3 and 4. Careful down the hill into that braking zone for the second gear, turn 5. Then building momentum through turn 9. Into the stadium section through 12, 13, and the always dramatic turn 14. Good afternoon and welcome back to the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. The second half of this year's MotoGP World Championship well and truly underway as we cram in 10 races in the next 13 weekends, 7 flyaways looming large on the horizon. A historic and much anticipated first visit to India coming up later on this month. As you mentioned, the action will be coming thick and fast over the next few weeks. 3 races in September, 4 in October, 3 in November. If you like your MotoGP entertainment, you're in the right place, because between now and the end of November in Valencia, there are only 3 weekends where we're not racing. And of course, we kick off the race action here this weekend in round 11, the Monster Energy Grand Prix of Catalunya, with the Tissot Sprint just over 20 minutes away from lights out for the 12-lapper, which will be led away for the 6th time in 2023 by a man who's just loving life with that #1 plate emblazoned on the front of that factory Ducati. 26-year-old Pecco Bagnaia, a new all-time lap record set this morning, his 24th career pole position, 17th in the Premier class. 6 poles then so far this year for Bagnaia, 9 wins and 15 podiums in total to boot as well. He has been the man to beat so far in 2023. He has a 62-point lead in the World Championship coming into this round 11. Already so far this year, he's been a 4 times winner in the sprints on Saturday afternoons. Going to take some beating as well, although do not discount the Aprilias, who are ganging up behind the reigning world champion, who's never had a podium finish here in Barcelona in his 10 previous visits. Aleix Espargaro, after his record-breaking performance on Friday, starts 2nd. Miguel Oliveira in his 77th MotoGP start on the front row for just the 2nd time in 3rd place. And Maverick Vinales, 3 RSGPs in the top 4. He heads the 2nd row. So high hopes of maybe a dream double here for the Nawali factory. As we mentioned then, just over 20 minutes away from lights out for the 12-lap Tissot Sprint, in the company of myself, Matt Burton, Lewis Stutterby in the commentary box. Simon Crowfar, as always, busy down getting some analysis and pre-sprint reviews down in pit lane. But this is the big question, the big conundrum, Lewis. Who on earth can stop Pecco Bagnaia? His golden run continues, completed once again by another absolute Catalunya cracker in qualifying this morning.
Only twice this season has Pecco Bagnaia qualified off the front row of the grid. He really is the star of Saturday mornings, and as we've seen, he's not exactly shabby on a Saturday afternoon in the sprint either. As you alluded to there, the feeling coming to this sprint is Pecco Bagnaia swimming against a tide of Aprilias, 3 of them behind him on the grid. He did say yesterday at the end of practice that he was more confident, arguably, of his ability to beat the Aprilias over the longer distance than he would over a single lap. He was able to pip them to pole. Can he beat them into turn 1 is the first question, and can Espargaro, Oliveira and Vinales upset the world champion over 12 laps this afternoon?
2nd on the grid for the sprint, and of course the full-length feature Grand Prix tomorrow will be home crowd hero Aleix Espargaro. A record-breaking lap time yesterday. Didn't quite get down to that benchmark this morning. Had a few vibration, a few chatter problems with the front end of that factory Aprilia. He felt it was perhaps the cooler conditions. Coming to the commentary box actually for this Tissot Sprint, it feels like we've got the strongest wind of the weekend so far. That could be a factor as well. Just the 2nd front row start of the season for the 34-year-old Spaniard. Of course, his previous one was the pole position in Jerez. Still searching for his first Tissot Sprint podium podium of the season is Aleix Espargaro. Behind the Ducati then of Bagnaia, and the triple of the trio of Aprilias is Jorge Martin, who's been doing a bit of showboating, as we expected he would be. At turn number 5, we've all got our screensavers after it was elbows, upper arms and shoulders down for Jorge Martin. He goes from the middle of that second row in P5, and here we go then. This, he admitted yesterday, was one for the cameras. I guess it's the football equivalent of the MotoGP showboat, isn't it? Absolutely awesome. I've already got this actually as my screensaver because it's just mind-boggling. Absolutely awesome. Stark, raving, bonkers lean angle from Jorge Martin. He won't care about this though. He wants to be back on that Tito Sprint podium, and he wants a Grand Prix podium as well, because he has fallen now 62 points adrift of Pecco Bagnaia after that dream double he completed in the Sachs room. We thought it was game on, wasn't it? Perhaps the dawn of a new rivalry, Bagnaia versus Martin. He's lost 46 points in the last 3 rounds. At least they've got some new sponsor logos on that left arm, yeah.
I was about to say, the only people who didn't enjoy Jorge Martin's antics in practice yesterday were his sponsors on his left arm, who saw their logos scrubbed out. And of course, it was Martin who, unwittingly, made all the headlines in the sprint in Austria, didn't he? Coming from the 4th row of the grid, starting that multi-rider pile-up into turn 1. Perhaps a legacy of having to start so far back down the grid. Martin's got a much better slingshot this time from 5th on the grid. We have seen the Aprilias sometimes a little bit tardy off the line. This man, Maverick Vinales, knows all about that from Austria last time out. So don't be surprised if Jorge Martin is firmly in the battle for the lead in that long run down to turn 1.
He's not lacking support in his home Grand Prix, is he, Maverick Vinales? In MotoGP previously, of course, that's in the main Grand Prix. No podium in his 8 previous Premier Class starts, Maverick Vinales, although got a great record in the smaller class. He had podiums on his first 4 visits to this track in 125's Moto3 and in Moto2. It was a bit of a morning to forget for Mini VR46 Ducati. Marco Bezzecchi took a spill in FP2 at turn 5, and he never really recovered from that. He's going to start down in 10th place, only the 2nd time this year at the best. 3rd in the World Championship, has missed the first 3 rows. His previous worst qualifying of the season was at the Spanish Grand Prix in Jerez. It got even worse on the other side of the garage. Luca Marini's worst qualifying in 2 years since he was 18th on the grid in Styria 2021. He goes from 18th place, back of that 6th row. But in many respects, it has already been a super Saturday for Crypto Data RNF and Miguel Oliveira, because it started in pretty dismal fashion. A pretty heavy tumble at turn 5 in FP2, a front end lock going into that downhill turn 5. Picked himself up, dusted himself down. He topped FP2, topped Q1, coming through with this man, Marc Marquez, and then he slots himself on the front row for just the 2nd time in MotoGP, the 1st time since his home Grand Prix in Portimao in 2020, where he did a bit of a number on the field that day as well.
He certainly did. He left them absolutely trailing in his wake, and if there's anyone who deserves a little bit of good fortune at some stage, it's Miguel Oliveira, who's been taken out 3 times this year, including in the most recent sprint in Austria in that Jorge Martin instigated crash. As you mentioned, not exactly an easy start to Saturday. Let's hope it ends with some sprint success for him. Plenty of fans here, as you saw there, who are hoping for some Marc Marquez success. Have to say, he's already pulled one rabbit out of the hat today in qualifying by getting that Repsol Honda into Q2, aided a little bit by some clever tactics and following Jack Miller around qualifying 1, a tactic that we've seen Marc Marquez employ here in Barcelona before. It certainly worked for him in terms of getting him up into the top 12 on the grid. Whether Marc Marquez can go forward from there, though, is another matter entirely.
12th he was in the main Grand Prix at the Red Bull Ring in Austria a couple of weeks ago. His first finish in a Sunday race in 301 days. Amazing stat that, wasn't it? His last finish before that Austrian Grand Prix was in Sepang, October the 23rd, 2022. Now then, he's got the Joker helmet, the special, lovely one-off helmet for the Monster Energy Grand Prix as Monster Energy Yamaha rider Fabio Quartararo. But it's no laughing matter down in that Iwata garage right now, because Fabio Quartararo, for the 7th time in 11 rounds so far this season, is starting way outside the top 10. Not helped by a little tip-off. He missed his braking marker into first corner in that opening qualifying session, and then he just couldn't quite get it stopped before the gravel and a 10 km/h tip over on the side of that factory Yamaha. But Fabio Quartararo, who was the runaway race winner here 1 year ago in the main Grand Prix, he absolutely smashed the field by over 6 seconds. He said one of his best ever Grand Prix performances, probably one of the best races of his career. It's been tough going though so far this weekend. Quartararo goes from 17th, that's just 1 place behind his teammate Frankie Morbidelli, who's also having a bit of a miserable weekend here in Barcelona.
it'll particularly hurt for Fabio Quartararo. I mean, of course it hurts anyway, but it will hurt knowing how much support he's got here this weekend. It's almost a second home Grand Prix for Fabio Quartararo here this weekend. The pit lane walk took place around 6 o'clock in the evening yesterday following practice, and of course Fabio Quartararo will have not been in the mood to show his face really after what happened in practice, ending way down the back of the field. But there was a sea of French flags and number 20s in the pit lane, and Fabio Quartararo, to his great credit, spent around half an hour coming out into the pit lane and signing flags and taking pictures with his many fans. Of course, he's from the south of France in Nice, so as the crow flies, it's closer than Le Mans, his Grand Prix here in Catalonia. So it's a special weekend in some respects for Fabio Quartararo, but he's going to have to go some to give his many fans a result to celebrate here this afternoon.
It's been a special Saturday already, hasn't it, for the world champion Pecco Bagnaia. The Marquez fan club there on their feet. Hope springs eternal. Can he deliver some magic again here in Barcelona? We've already seen some magic, not for the first time in 2023 this morning. An all-time lap record carrying him to a 6th pole of the 2023 season. Let's get some pre-sprint thoughts from Pecco Bagnaia. I'm sure very content team manager Davide Tardozzi, who's with Simon. Good afternoon, guys.
Good afternoon. Yes, David, as Matt was saying, you must be pretty content so far with the work your team and Pecco have done. But as you predicted, there's another manufacturer hot on your heels. I'm wondering what you're thinking going into this race.
Yeah, I think that Aprilia here are performing very well. Having 3 Aprilia on the top 4 is the reason why I'm worried. But anyway, we have to look to the championship. Aprilia so far is not a contender, so we think that we have to collect the motor points, but we'll see. I think that Pecco knows exactly what he has to do, but I do expect Aleix mainly very aggressive.
Okay, thank you, David.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks to Davide Tardozzi. Yeah, expect an aggressive Aleix Espargaro. He desperately wants to win in front of his home crowd. So many family and friends are here to watch the Espargaro brothers. Got to say, looking out of our commentary box window, we've got a fantastic view here, right at the top of the main grandstand, overlooking the back of the grid in Catalonia. It looks like a really healthy crowd. Really good crowd. Apparently it's taken some fans about 3 hours to get into this Catalonia circuit from downtown Barcelona. So great to see the fans out in force. And as Davide Tardozzi just made there a really good point. All of those riders that are sort of immediately behind Pecco Bagnaia, Aleix Espargaro, Miguel Oliveira and Maverick Viñales, they aren't really what you call serious title contenders. The closest, of course, is Aleix Espargaro, but he's some distance back in 7th in the standings, so you just can't see. There's no senses of having worked so hard to get that 62-point lead. The Bagnaia is going to start overriding and taking the big risk just to beat a couple of guys who aren't big threats in the championship. Well, as we just mentioned, what a weekend it has been so far in Barcelona for Aprilia, their factory team, with Aleix Espargaro on screens right now, and also Maverick Viñales 1st and 2nd yesterday. They've got 3 bikes in the top 4 on the grid for this sprint and the Grand Prix tomorrow. Let's get some thoughts from Aprilia Racing's team manager Paolo Bonora, who's with Simon.
He is. Paolo, your machine is looking fantastic. It's not the first time that the Aprilia is looking like the most competitive machine overall, but can you tell us your concerns going into the sprint?
Yeah, for sure, you are fully right, Simon. Here we like so much this kind of tracks, so high-speed corner, and we know hard braking phase, and also because it is the home race for both our riders, so this is something that push them to go forward and to put everything on the bike. For sure, they feel they was comfortable since the start with the bike, and only 110 to achieve the pole position. Yeah, we missed the first position, but for sure we have a good race pace. So we look forward to have a good result with both our riders.
Paolo, before I let you go, can you tell the listeners what are the difficult things to manage here? I mean, I know it's rear tyre wise, depending on what you've chosen, but also tyre temperature here. Can you, front tyre, can you give us your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. This is a special track. The wearing of the tyre in the rear is so high, despite of the sprint race with less laps, it's necessary to take care about the rear tire. Otherwise, if you cook it in the first part of the race, you lost the opportunity. You will lose the opportunity to have something on the rubber for the last part of the fight. So it's necessary to take care about the rear. Don't forget about the front tire, because if you stay too much in the slipstream, you lose some performance in the braking. So you feel hard and it's difficult to make the bike turn.
Thank you very much for the insights and best of luck.
Thanks so much, Simon.
Thanks, Simon. Thanks to Aprilia Racing's Paolo Bernal. Then we just saw, didn't we, there? Then Aleix Espargaro, middle of the front row, only his second front row start of the season. The front row completed by Miguel Oliveira. A super eventful Saturday so far for Oliveira. Can he find his way to the podium for the first time this season? Maverick Vinales heads row 2 and 4. We're going to be giving a very close eye on his starts after what happened from the front row in Austria. We know that Ty Webb, particularly tomorrow, Lewis, over 24 torturing laps of this 4.66 kilometre Barcelona circuit is going to be vital. It will be as well in this 12 laps. We just saw there on the grid graphic, everybody has gone for the medium front. Nobody going for the hard in the cooler and breezy conditions here this afternoon, but it looks like there's almost an equal split in terms of your rear tyre pick.
Certainly in terms of the front runners, Pecco Bagnaia on the front row of the grid from pole position has gone for the medium rear tyres, so perhaps he wants a little bit more consistency and ensuring he's got some rear grip at the end of this 12-lap sprint. The 3 Aprilias immediately behind him have all gone aggressive, as we heard Davide Talozzi predicting that Aleix Espargaro would. All 3 of the Aprilias in the front 2 rows have gone for the soft rear tyre. So too has Jorge Martin. It's been a split at Pramac with Johan Zarco on the medium rear tyre. Alex Marquez on the second row has gone for the medium. Di Gianantonio and Binder have gone for the soft. Bezzecchi's on the medium rear tyre. Bastianini and Marc Marquez, who you can see now on screen, are on the soft.
Normally when you come to Barcelona, you can put a hefty chunk of your hard-earned money on Marc Marquez figuring right at the front. 9 podiums in his last 11 races in front of his home crowd, but this is a different Marc Marquez and a different Honda. What can he salvage from 12th place? It's going to be tough going as well for the factory KTMs. We know they're electric off the line. They're going to need a stunning start here as well ahead of this sprint, with Brad Binder at the back of the 3rd row in 9th place, and Jack Miller with a bit of recovery work to do as well. He just missed out on Q2. He starts 13th. Let's get some thoughts of their team manager Francesco Guidotti ahead of the sprint.
Yes, Francesco, qualifying wouldn't have gone exactly how you liked and hoped, but what are you feeling is possible for the sprint today?
Yeah, we knew in advance that here for us should be quite difficult, and it is. For qualifying Q1, we were very close to go Q2 with Jack, but with Mark behind, we know he's a specialist in the latest period. So yeah, let's look forward. And with Brad was a decent qualifying. He did some little mistake, but nothing to complain too much. We know that he's so committed during the race, and let's see. Expectation is medium high.
Best of luck.
Thank you.
Thanks, Simon. Thanks to Francesco Guidotti. Expectations then medium to high from the factory KTMs. We have seen Brad Binder win a sprint this season from the 5th row of the grid, so a slightly less tougher task for him ahead. Is Marcos Alonso. Of course, we all know him from English football, Barcelona FC player. There's our man Jack Appleyard right on the spot, growing a word with the FC Barcelona star. I believe he's going to wave the checkered flag at the end of this 12-lap Tissot sprint. And Gerard Piqué as well, another Barcelona, ex-Barcelona football legend. Of course, a World Cup winner, multiple winner of domestic trophies and Champions Leagues with Barcelona. He's knocking around here this weekend as well. So, yeah, good to see some of the two-footed football stars coming to see our two-wheeled superstars here in Barcelona.
If you're wondering why you weren't here in that interview, that's live on Instagram right now. So if you want to watch Jack Appleyard's grid walk while you're also listening to us, Instagram at MotoGP is where you can find that. Food for thought for Marc Marquez then, who's not exactly worn a smile for much of this weekend, has he? Of course, it's been a tough season, which just when you think it's reached its low, it gets lower. Of course, yesterday at the end of practice, the bottom 6 places were occupied by the 6 Japanese bikes, and the bottom 4 were occupied by the 4 Hondas. If fan power was enough to power that Repsol Honda to a fast lap time, Marc Marquez would be on pole position, wouldn't he? As it is, he starts 12th on the grid. Remember, points for the top 9 only. So Marc Marquez has an uphill challenge to even get 1 point out of this sprint here this afternoon.
Just there in the left-hand side of your picture, we saw Alex Rins hobbling away from the grid. He's been down there giving some words of encouragement to Ika Lecuona, attacking Nakagami. He was back on a production bike early this week, trying desperately to see if he can be fit enough to maybe try and ride in next weekend's San Marino Grand Prix Misano. He did speak to Jack Appleyard this morning. It was sounding a little bit pessimistic, I think it's fair to say. Misano may just come a little bit too quickly as he continues what's been a very painful and arduous rehabilitation from that serious double fracture of his right leg in that horrible crash in the Italian Grand Prix in Mugello. An Italian Grand Prix where this man in front of his adoring home crowd did the double. Is Pecco Bagnaia going to launch himself to a potential 4th double of the season in this upcoming 12-lap Tissot sprint here in Barcelona? The BMW safety car powers away from the front of the grid. It's Bagnaia on pole for the 6th time this season. Usually when he starts from pole position, he makes it count and gets the job done, doesn't he, the Italian? So the countdown continues then, just 2 or 3 minutes away from the start of this 12-lap race. Kind of a commentary box window. It seems to be getting a little bit darker overhead. Let's just hope that rain does stay away then. So for just the 2nd time in his MotoGP career, Miguel Oliveira finds himself starting from the front row. He topped FP2 and he topped